This is going to be read as Meghan Markle syndrome, okay? Meghan Markle syndrome, where you want privacy when you want it, but you want publicity whenever you want it, and that just doesn't work.
The US right is divided, and it has happened as a result of Charlie Kirk's assassination and the warfare that we're seeing on one side between Turning Point UK, now led by Charlie Kirk's widow, Erica Kirk, and then those who are questioning the motives of Kirk's former organization, led by big names like Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson. Now, there's been big developments on this over the past 24 hours, and very shortly we will hear from Nick Tanconi, who is the Chief Operating Officer of Turning Point UK. But let me first show you the new Chief Executive of Turning Point, Erica Kirk, on Fox News for the first time, even though she didn't name her, quite clearly going for Candace Owens.
Anytime we hear a lead or anytime we hear anything, we send it to the authorities. Please dig into this. No rock will be unturned. I want justice for my husband, for myself, for my family, more than anyone else out there. So for me, you want to keep telling me to come down while we're building? I don't have time for that. But here's my breaking point on that. Come after me, call me names, I don't care. Call me what you want, go down that rabbit hole, whatever. But when you go after my family, my Turning Point USA family, my Charlie Kirk Show family, when you go after the people that I love, and you're making hundreds and thousands of dollars every single episode going after the people that I love because somehow they're in on this, no.
You know, I have to say it. I've never seen you like this.
No, this is righteous anger because this is not okay. It's not healthy. This is a mind virus. Yes, I believe in our judicial system. I do. We have a hell of a team working on this. Excuse my French. But this is not okay.
So you want to put these people back in the box where they've been creeping from?
I don't care what box you're in. But just know that your words are very powerful, and we are human. My team are not machines, and they're not robots. They are human. We have more death threats on our team and our side than I have ever seen. I have kidnapping threats. I have, you name it, we have it. And my poor team is exhausted. And every time they bring this back up, what are we supposed to do? Relive that trauma all over again? They watched my husband get murdered. I have no idea how I would have reacted if I was there that day. And thank the good Lord that I did not have to see that happen. But my team, they are rocked to the core. So why every single day do they have to be dragged through the mud, analyzed, hyper-analyzed?
You know.
Okay, so she was talking about Candace Owens. It was very, very clear. And Candace Owens soon responded, specifically going on this idea that Erica Kirk isn't telling the truth about whether Charlie Kirk has been buried or not. And in a line that I think Candace had probably been waiting to unleash, she compared Erica Kirk to Meghan Markle and suggested she has Meghan Markle syndrome.
That is sacred to our family, to my in-laws, to my babies, and to my parents. One thing.
Okay, so on its face, I actually agree with that. I think that when people are being buried and where they're being buried and how their funerals are done, that is very private matter, okay? So objectively, I agree with what she's saying, okay? But subjectively, because we are dealing with the subject of Erica Kirk and what transpired immediately following Charlie's assassination, this is going to be read as Meghan Markle syndrome, okay? Meghan Markle syndrome, where you want privacy when you want it, but you want publicity whenever you want it, and that just doesn't work, okay? It doesn't work that way. I honestly think it was said best by Bethany Frankel, not related to this situation. Bethany Frankel is on Real Housewives, a real a reality show. And she was referring to one of the housewives who lived her life very publicly, showcased her marriage, was buying tons of Louis Vuitton bags, and they had tons of money. And then when their relationship soured, the housewife basically asked the public for privacy. And Bethany was like, no, this isn't how it works. Like, we were riding with you on the way up. We're riding with you on the way out. You don't get to like pick and choose when you want privacy and when you don't want privacy. And subjectively, as it, in the matter of Erica Kirk, this is the same person who had somebody record her over Charlie Kirk's casket. That was not our business, truly. And I can say that decision was made by her. And there is, some credence to the claim that everybody grieves differently. I wouldn't even record myself over a casket ever, okay? Some people maybe perhaps want to have that memory. But the decision to publish that, you crying over your husband's casket, and to publish his dead body on Instagram was a decision that was made by Erica. And we can watch that.
So I'm already sensing huge disagreement, even amongst the outspoken audience. But I think it is fair to say that Erica Kirk absolutely wants to spread her message. I mean, there is a new emotional town hall with CBS and the new head of news at CBS, Barry Weiss, of the Free Press, where she does just that. Watch.
Erica, one of the most alarming things about Charlie's murder was the way that some people in this country reacted to it.
Yeah.
And not just online. This was an idea that you encountered a lot. And the idea was this. They kind of justified it. They basically said that because Charlie said or believed things that they believed were controversial or even hateful, that he somehow had it coming. What do you say to people who justified his death?
You're sick. He's a human being. You think he deserved that? Tell that to my 3-year-old daughter. Excuse me. You want to watch in high res the video of my husband being murdered and laugh and say he deserves it? There's something very sick in your soul, and I pray that God saves you. I pray, because that is what is so wrong. The internet in this world has dehumanized us.
Yeah, and I've said that about the left ever since this assassination. Like, they have shown their true colors. Because trust me, if I saw that type of assassination on one of the people who I hated most in this country, I would be utterly sick and devastated. But then there are other people who say, look, Erica Kirk's grief feels a bit performative, and should she be doing all of this? And Candace Owens is now even questioning whether as a woman she should have been able to take over as chief executive of Turning Point, which of course is a big business now in the US. But I think probably the most damning criticism of Candace over the past 24 hours is the fact that, given she talks about how much she loved Charlie and how devastated she was at the loss of her good friend, how much now at times, and I'm going to show you this video and you can be the judge, she seems to be enjoying this madness. Watch.
Okay, super fun show today. You're probably seeing the clips, but Erica has gone off on conspiracy theorists. Obviously, every journalist out there is emailing me because it's about me. It's indirect, but it's also about me. And don't worry, in case you think it's not about me, she is going to name check me on stage with Barry Weiss on Saturday. How do we know? Because our mommy sleuths be everywhere. And they recorded the town hall today. And as soon as the town hall concluded, we got a flutter of emails. And what she says about the Egyptian planes, I'm sorry, not gonna lie, it's a little suspicious. It's weird. It's a weird response. So look, we got to go there.
But honestly, it's so interesting. I'm just looking through the live chat now. I've got some of you like Helen saying, come on, Dan, don't defend Owens, please. But then others like Jenny Chilton saying, I trust Candace over Erica. Dale saying Team Candace. So there is real division on the right over this. And that's why I wanted to have this discussion today with Nick Tenconi, because Nick is the Chief Operating Officer of Turning Point UK. And Nick, I thought it was really important to look at this story from a British perspective. How do you feel about Candace Owens' criticism of the Turning Point organisation, which of course Turning Point UK is a part?
Yeah, it's not a fun conversation for us. It's just been brewing for the last couple of months. There was a very specific point where it started. Look, our official position, Turning Point UK's official position, is that we stand with the grieving widow, Erica Kirk. And I know I can speak for our fantastic Chief Executive Officer, Jack Ross, that both him and I, we're both Christians, and we pray, and we pray for Charlie, and we definitely pray for Erica, which is kind of where I would elaborate my answer to in the context of Candace. Something has definitely happened to Candace in the last 18 months. I don't think it's acute. I think it's happened for sometimes it's acute. I don't think it has. I don't think it's been like that. I think it's over the last 12, 18 months, and it's just grown and grown and grown. The thing that I'm describing, Dan, is I know too much about human psychology. When I see narcissism, I know it's narcissism. So obviously in your position, you've got a very devout following, and obviously we have different roles, you and I. You're media, I'm politician. So I know what you mean about engaging with the audience. My question to your audience is, like, what are you trying to get out of this, guys? I've heard it all. Charlie, it goes something like this, in terms of conspiracy theories. Charlie's still alive. Charlie was a woman. I've seen it all, and you've seen the same stuff that I've seen. And again, for guys like you and I, we just take that and we just put it to the side. We just keep it over there. We're taking our country back. It doesn't concern us. But in terms of Candace and what's happened in the last, again, specifically maybe the last 8 weeks or so, it's very difficult for us, Turning Point, and me as an individual, speaking now just as myself. It's very difficult to turn onto it, because in doing so, I know I'm feeding her narcissism. Is that a slur to call someone, to say that someone is behaving as a narcissist, or they're demonstrating narcissistic tendencies, potentially even PD, personality disorder? Yeah, I guess so. Obviously, Candace wouldn't care about me saying that. And I'm also not trying to be nasty to Candace either. But there are some things that are being said and done at the moment when you look and you're trained and you know what narcissism looks like, and the me show, and I'm gonna spin everything into this media news empire that I've got. Candace is so comfortable with that laptop and that face to camera and that podcast setup. She is in her absolute element. She works in media. It's not a slur. But I will close by saying this, again, going back to your audience. What are they trying to achieve? Erica is what, 33? No, sorry, she's 35. She was older than Charlie, God rest his soul. I think she's 35. Erica, and we all know, is very, very smart. We also know that she's a professional. We also know that she's a CEO. We also know that she's educated. She comes from incredibly good stock. She's of pedigree. And we also know that her husband, who was a seriously, seriously big deal, arguably the free speech champion of planet Earth, we know that she's seen him, had his neck blown off in a live, as she said, high-res murder. What do you think that's going to do to you as a mother, as a wife, as a woman? What do you think that's going to do to you with all of your, all the high heels and all the £1,000 suits or whatever, and all of the polish and the prestige and the holding it together, and the two little girls that she's got to look in the eyes of every single night? We're probably going to see rock hard Erica, and we're going to see I want to break down Erica, and we're going to see Christian, Erica. I know there's a bit of a thing going back and forth about whether she's Catholic or Protestant, but listen, the woman's clearly Christian. She's of the Christian worldview. So we're going to see you, just to close, sorry, if you'll permit me, Dan, use the
Please.
word performative. This is a very good word. We're going to see the performative. We're going to see the total nervous breakdown pending, justifiably so. And we're going to see the woman trying to hold it all together. And I just say, like, where to some people and to some sections of society, where's our humanity gone? And I just bring out that lastly about Candace saying about, you know, when you want the attention, it's there. Look, she's CEO of Turning Point USA. She's in showbiz. Right. So the whole, you want the privacy when you want the privacy, but you want the publicity when you want it, and the casket picture, etc. The woman on the inside must be an absolute wreck. Imagine that. Your world is ripped apart irreparably forever. Dan, we would be absolutely destroyed, roles reversed. I think that's where my heart lies with it.
Yeah, absolutely fascinating. Nick Tanconi, who is, of course, Chief Operating Officer of Turning Point UK, but also the leader of the UKIP party. So great to have you back on Outspoken, Nick. Thank you so much. We will speak very soon.
Thanks, Dan.
And lots of feedback from you coming in. Actually, John Scott says, people like Nick, saving the UK, biggest of respect. And Helen O.D. says, Candace, the more I think about it, the angrier I get. Charlie was murdered just 3 months ago and Candace hasn't stopped dragging his wife. But lots of other people, as I said in the live chat, have been disagreeing with that position. So there is a very clear divide on this. On Tommy Robinson's son being debanked, Juliet Johnson says, Farage dealt with his debanking by Coots brilliantly, but he said he'll take measures to end debanking injustice when he got his compensation and new accounts. Measures he promised to introduce, ... The implication being that as soon as he was sorted, all of a sudden this was an issue that went off the agenda. Lots of anger too about the LBC crew who are trying to say, oh, you know, everything's totally fine in London. It's totally safe here. Because Cy London says Andrew Marr lives on the mean streets of Primrose Hill. And Gary JG says Marr and Mateless both everything that's wrong with this country. Okay, it's time to reveal today's Greatest Britain and Union Jackass. A reminder of your Union Jackass nominees. Jeremy Vine, nominated by Mick Cass for pretending that he doesn't like it all about being him and his victimhood. Charlotte Church, nominated by Scott523 because she said, I don't wear any deodorant or anything, so I generally stink. Gross. And George Aberoni, nominated by Thanks a Lot 412 because he's now trying to make all of his horrible comments about Charlie Kirk connected to his race, which obviously have nothing to do with it. And it was an interesting vote today. In the third position with 21%, Smelly Charlotte Church. The runner-up with 25% of the vote, George Aberoni. But today's Union Jackass with a big-time 53% of the vote, Jeremy Vine. And I'm very excited because it is Thursday. We're going to put your Union Jackasses from across the week head-to-head. You can vote for the worst Britain in the world this week in the live chat on YouTube. No, sorry, not the live chat. It's the post section of YouTube. I'm going to put it up straight after the live show. So it will be up there in a couple of minutes. And your nominees are from Monday, Angela Rayner, from Tuesday, Piers Morgan, from Wednesday, Hugh Edwards, and from Thursday, Jeremy Vine. That is going to be a fascinating result, which I will bring you on tomorrow's show. And your Greatest Britain today, Joey Barton, nominated by Kaz Quinn, because he has started to appeal his recent suspended sentence for social media posts and hurty words online. I've seen that the Free Speech Union are backing him, and I am totally backing him. Free speech is at stake here.
The rich diversity of the Abbey to a terribly white balcony. I'm very struck by that.
We're to presume that William didn't know about the balcony comment. Now that's ridiculous.
The hypocrisy of our elite class, our celebrities, knows no bounds. But I actually don't think I have ever seen a more disgusting example than that anti-white racist Adjoa Andoh, the star of Bridgerton, who on the day of King Charles's coronation described the Buckingham Palace balcony as terribly white, accepting an MBE from Prince William, who presumably she didn't think was terribly white anymore. This was the moment yesterday where she so despicably decided to go and receive that gong from Prince William, but a reminder of what she had told Woke ITV before.
The rich diversity of the Abbey to a terribly white balcony. I'm very struck by that. I'm also looking at those younger generations and thinking, what are the nuances that they will inhabit as they grow? Nuances that Charles has exhibited from a teenage into early 20s young man, thinking of the life ahead of him and thinking about the world. But that final wave was absolutely the big gesture of relief and joy.
Just imagine, for a single second, if a white celebrity working in Jamaica were to say that their number one family was terribly black, or if a white commentator were to describe the Japanese royal family as being terribly Japanese. It would simply never happen. But here, it's that sort of suicidal empathy again, which means we bend the knee to these anti-white haters. Chris Rose posted on this, Adjoa Andoh 2023, the royal balcony looks terribly white. Adjoa Andoh 2025, yes, I'll accept an MBE from this terribly white royal family. Samantha Smith added, I guess colour doesn't matter now that she's getting an MBE out of them. And Nick Tanconi, leader of UKIP, this infuriates me on so many levels. Like, yes, of course, so much of it comes back to Adjoa Andoh herself, a terrible virtue signalling hypocrite, right? Who talks a big game, but actually, when push comes to shove and she's offered an opportunity like that from the terribly white British royal family, she takes it because she's all about herself. But actually, what about our own government who decides that we should reward a woman like that? And what about a royal family? And you know, I support the British royal family. I'm a monarchist, I'm a royalist, and you could argue that they are just going through with what they politically have to do. But in some ways, I find it disgraceful that they would choose to honour someone who believes that they are terribly white. And Nick Tanconi, I would just argue that it also shows that anti-white racism is now totally accepted and completely widespread.
Yeah, I think probably the most disturbing thing about Ando's acceptance of the MBE was the fact that she was offered it. And I think
Yes.
after
she'd made that comment, Nick, after she'd made that comment, whereas anyone else would be cancelled.
Yeah, I mean, it's William. Yeah, William. Like, what's the guy's problem? Okay, it's possible. Like, I've always defended how hard, as a royal, potentially you are going to be working seriously hard, but then again, you get a load of bad eggs in any family. So I've always, if they're working hard, fine, and if they're defenders of the faith, fine, right? So they're not in my good books, as everyone knows, and haven't been for quite some time. So are we to presume this woman? I remember when she said it. It's absolutely vile because it's so hypocritical, and it stems from left-wing dynamics, mindsets, dogmas, for example, of self-entitlement and victimhood and false oppression. So let's presume, item number one, that William hasn't seen this clip. There's no way that William and Kate don't have smartphones. There's no way. I'm not saying they don't work hard. I'm not saying that everyone's in politics and media like we are, and it's just constant 24/7. True. But there's no way William hasn't seen that, right? So we can presume that at some stage the guy's got enough power where he's gone. And I looked this up, why Ando's been given an MBE, right? It's just one of those Mickey Mouse titles. It's absolute nonsense. It's for her role in acting and what I don't care. Like, literally, I do not care who makes these decisions. So that's an item. But we're to presume that William didn't know about the balcony comment. Now that's ridiculous. Now let's address the hypocrisy of BLM. Let's address the hypocrisy. There were certain people that were identified as leaders of BLM in America when it kicked off with burning down of cities, tearing down of statues. And there have been exposés, Dan, done about, as you well know, about these people, these Black Panther types who did incredibly well out of the grift. They did.
They are buying mansions.
Yeah. Yeah, like, you know,
with the money which they grifted for as a result of George Floyd. I mean, and
there's been some really powerful exposés which teach us that the left, the Islamists, the communists, the left, the BLMers, they will always say that the right are grifters. They'll always say that the right are grifters. They don't care about what they're campaigning for. So war has been declared. You know my stance as a political leader and as a politician. We're not asking anymore. We're taking our country back. That means we need to educate British citizens on the problem of far left totalitarian propaganda and the mindsets we're up against. This woman looked at the royal family of a predominantly white Christian country. He was very tolerant and very kind. And she looked at it and went, that's terribly white. Now imagine that I'm sat there watching something in a predominantly black country, and I had the gall, the self-entitlement, the arrogance, the narcissism to look at the balcony and go, terribly black. Now, can you imagine going back to state-sponsored terrorism, which the media's part of?
You'd probably be arrested, Nick. That's not even a joke. You would probably be arrested. She is celebrated. And, you know, and I think about Tom Bradby and Julie Etchingham, the two presenters at ITV News there, who are as woke as they come. And they just sit there nodding along. You know, imagine the off-communists in another situation where a mainstream broadcaster allowed that type of racism to go on. But in this case, and actually, I've got no idea who that woman next to Eileen Class was, but she was actually nodding in the video. She was nodding vociferously because that's what woke idiots think. They think that they have to do themselves down and do down their own race, their own ethnicity. Oh, it makes me furious.
It is painful, but you know what, Dan? It is. I'm not going to lie. I quake with rage, but it is actually great because it's good we talk about these things because we take the fuel. Because you can't fight this enemy with words and with outrage. You can't do it, and you can't. Again, they think we're grifting. We think they're grifting. They're liars and deceivers. So we're going to take it all back, is what we're going to do. So that's why I'm in politics, and that is ironically with media interviews that kind of go off into. I got some facts about Andoh. I didn't know this, but she played or she created or redirected Richard II, and that's not relevant. The point is that it was they describe it as an all color only cast. And that was a few years ago. It was quite recently, actually. And it just reminds me of those airplane carriers, those services where they do the adverts that it's an all black crew. And this is like great and historic. And I'm thinking, right, just do this, just play it back in reverse. So it's an all white crew and we're totally going to advertise that. It's an all white cast at the Globe Theatre or wherever, and we're going to advertise that. We're going to make a specific campaign about that. You can't reason with this level of hatred. You can't reason with this level of manipulation. And also, these people suffering under these demonic left-wing dogmas. Again, like I said, we're not asking anymore. We're taking it back. But you've got to understand the rage baiters, these types of people, Dan, they're very low IQ. Their argument, and this is very important, not only is it totally godless, by the way, and it's very hateful and manipulative, but these people are very, very low IQ. The left argument in general, whether it stems from Marxism or something more radical, or whether they're just, like you said, to bring up the presenters there that are just sort of sniggering along with it, they're cowardly, they're gutless, they're spineless. They just nod along with it. It wouldn't matter what got said. The camera's on, they look a certain way. Someone of color has said that. We live in woke times, therefore they have to go along with it. And that goes for everyone who didn't stand up to saying something like that from a black woman about white people. You can't reason with it. You can't argue with it. It's also it's incredibly sinister, but remember, it's very low IQ. We're not asking anymore. We're taking our country back. And you know what that means? Mass deportations and remigration.
Yeah, indeed. Apparently, the woman who was nodding along there is Catherine Meyer, who is King Charles's biographer, but it doesn't matter, does it? I mean, she's a member of the media class. They all sat there nodding along. And it is this actually deep-seated hatred that a lot of white people on the left actually have for themselves, Nick, that disturbs me. It's
You
like
got
they
it.
want to be they want to self-flagellate.
Yeah, again, it's there is I'm happy with what I said, but there is so much to unpack. And I know that you Dan and good people know this, but it is there is a sadness in what I've just described. And obviously I mask it with a smile, but it is we are living in incredibly evil times. We are engulfed in wickedness. I don't use these terms. These people feel, I don't use them lightly, sorry. These people feel absolutely no remorse. These people have no contrition in their heart. Like you say, it's genuinely weird. It's never happened before. I'm old enough that I grew up when Labour voters and Conservative voters would happily be friends and associate. I grew up, I was so blessed to see that with my father, blue-blooded Conservative household. The only difference between the Labour guys and the Blue guys was their stance on economics. The Blues being very much towards Thatcherite economics, standard operating procedure as of the last 40 years, and anyone who was Labour or Red, socially conservative, so loads of common ground, but they economically swung into the middle. But that's absolutely no problem. That's social conservatives can swing to the middle economically. Of course, they're not all capitalism on steroids. It's the root cause of a lot of our problems after mass deportations and remigration, which I'm on record as talking about. This is a new phenomenon. You said self-flagellation. This is a new phenomenon. It's a mixture, impossible to unpack, a mixture of narcissism, it's the narcissism which stems from godlessness, which stems from radicalization and weaponization based off of something so hateful and so manipulative that it is that powerful to take its wicked way with those corruptible and those cowardly. And there is no excuse. We're not trying to save lives here. That's down to the clergy. I'll remind everyone of that. There's this thing called free will. You're absolutely right to describe it the way that you do, and I'm glad this has come up. We are at war against very sinister forces, which requires power, and it requires action. We're taking it back.
Prince William marked the 20th anniversary of his first patronage this week as he visited the headquarters of Centrepoint, the youth homelessness charity based in Whitechapel in East London. The Prince of Wales began the visit by cutting a 3-tier chocolate sponge cake that had been prepared by celebrity baker Juliet Sear, an act symbolising the milestone being celebrated. Staff members explained that Centrepoint has long held a special place in William's public life. His mother, Diana, became patron of the charity in the year 1992, and William followed her example in the year 2005, making Centrepoint the first organisation he formally supported as a public figure at that time. He spent several days working directly with the charity as a volunteer, gaining insight into the challenges faced by young people experiencing homelessness. During the latest visit, William helped add the final touches to a mural in the charity's recently opened offices. Observers said he praised the staff warmly, reflecting on how much the organisation had achieved over 2 decades. He conveyed that many employees had been with the charity far longer than he had, and that their dedication had transformed countless lives across the United Kingdom. He reportedly expressed deep pride in being considered part of what he described as the Centrepoint family, and thanked staff for the commitment they demonstrated every day to supporting vulnerable young people. Those present said he commented on the generosity and compassion that the charity's work represents, noting that the large cake served at the event symbolised the spirit of kindness that drives those efforts. He encouraged everyone in attendance to enjoy a piece as part of the celebration. William spent time speaking with staff members, award recipients, and young people who had been supported by Centrepoint. Many of them shared their personal experiences of overcoming hardship and homelessness, and he listened to their stories while acknowledging the resilience they had shown. Representatives from the charity stated that William's continued involvement has provided valuable visibility for their mission and has helped draw wider attention to the needs of young people who lack stable housing. The visit was described as warm, engaging, and reflective of the long-standing bond between the Prince of Wales and an organisation that has shaped much of his public service work over the past 20 years.